"You shouldn't have come here," Lyra Vera whispered, her voice trembling as the dim light of the containment chamber flickered across her shimmering turquoise skin. Ethan Carter's breath hitched as he crouched by the reinforced door, his fingers brushing the cold, ridged panel, heart hammering at 120 beats per minute, the hum of machinery vibrating through the floor and walls, a metallic scent mingling with ozone filling the air. Warning alarms muted by the distance, he adjusted his grip on the small handheld scanner, every flicker of the panel light reflecting in Lyra's wide violet eyes, her gaze sharp, wary, yet tinged with a flicker of desperate hope. The corridor beyond the heavy door stretching into darkness lined with angular support beams and pipes that hummed faintly. Ethan's mind raced with calculations, timing, probabilities, each step precise. The lock mechanism responding with a soft hiss under his touch, a hiss that seemed deafening in the charged silence. And when the panel slid open just enough to reveal a sliver of the corridor, a chill gust blew through, ruffling Lyra's long hair and sending a cascade of faintly glowing dust motes into the flickering light. She leaned back instinctively, shoulders tense, but her eyes stayed fixed on him, questioning, challenging. Ethan stepped forward, boots clanging softly against the metal grating, the echoes stretching, emphasizing the emptiness of the chamber. The overhead lights casting long, sharp shadows across Lyra's delicate features, every line of worry and caution traced in the subtle iridescence of her skin. Ethan held out a hand, steady, patient, inviting without forcing. "It's okay. I won't let anything happen to you," he murmured, voice calm but firm, the words carrying through the chamber, bouncing off the cold walls, each syllable a promise. Lyra's chest rose and fell quickly, uncertainty mingling with the tiniest spark of trust. And as she took a tentative step toward him, the light caught a tiny scar across her temple, evidence of past struggles. Ethan's gaze softened, noting every detail, mapping the route they would take. Each calculation measured yet unspoken. The machinery thrummed louder, as if acknowledging the tension, and as their fingers brushed lightly when she reached for his offered hand, a surge of warmth passed through the small contact, the metallic cold of the chamber offset by human presence, a spark of connection in a place that had known only isolation. The door fully opened now, revealing more of the dimly lit corridor and the shadows it held. Ethan gestured toward the passage. "Come on," carefully, his voice low but steady. Lyra nodded almost imperceptibly, eyes twitch of her lips betraying the first hint of trust as she adjusted her stance, moving in sync with his rhythm, their synchronized breathing filling the space between them, the soft hiss of venting air punctuating the quiet, an occasional spark arcing from an exposed circuit, sending a brief flash of light across Lyra's violet eyes, reflecting the subtle shimmer of her turquoise skin. Ethan's mind racing with calculations, each footfall timed to avoid unstable panels and protruding piping, the narrow passage twisting into a secondary corridor with low-hanging conduits, the soft vibration underfoot hinting at the activity of distant machinery. Ethan guided her through, hand hovering near the wall for balance, the cool metal under his fingers steadying him. Lyra's curiosity slowly emerging despite the tension. As she traced a fingertip along the glowing conduits, Ethan noted her subtle shift in posture, the cautious interest softening her initial tension. "This way," he whispered. Pulse, a sense of cautious momentum building, as though the air itself held its breath, their synchronized steps a silent testament to the growing connection. The camera lingering on the subtle glances exchanged, the interplay of fear, curiosity, and emerging trust, setting the stage for the next challenge just beyond the chamber's edge, leaving viewers with a pulse of suspense, anticipation, and the promise of deeper discovery. The narrow service corridor twisted again, the dim blue glow from the conduits reflecting off Ethan Carter's dark tactical suit as he led Lyra Vera forward, her delicate turquoise skin catching the light with each cautious step, her violet eyes wide, alert, scanning every shadow for the unknown, the subtle hum of life support systems resonating underfoot, vibrating faintly through the metal grating beneath their boots. Ethan's hand brushing against hers occasionally to signal timing and direction without words, their breaths shallow yet synchronized, the cool air carrying the scent of ozone and metal, small sparks dancing from a loose conduit overhead. Casting fleeting patterns across Lyra's tense features, Ethan gestured toward a ladder leading to a maintenance hatch, the metal cold and smooth under his fingers, the ladder rungs humming faintly as energy coursed through them. Lyra paused for a moment, her hand hovering near the first rung, hesitation shadowing her expression. Ethan crouched slightly, locking eyes with her. "I am right here, just follow me." His voice calm, low, reassuring, the timbre carrying authority and empathy. Her lips pressed together, nodding almost imperceptibly, a tiny spark of trust igniting. She grasped the first rung, pulling herself up with careful precision, Ethan close behind, monitoring each movement, ready to steady her if needed. The corridor below now distant, the faint vibration of machinery echoing up the shaft, the passage, opening to a service balcony that overlooked the faintly illuminated control bay below, panels aglow with soft white light, the air buzzing with faint currents of energy. Lyra's gaze sweeping over the complex layout, her curiosity momentarily overpowering caution as she traced the lines of circuitry and conduits with her eyes. Ethan moved beside her, noting every detail, every vent and access hatch, mentally mapping escape routes and potential cover. The metallic floor beneath their feet resonating with each step, shadows stretching across Lyra's tense but intrigued expression, a slight tilt of her head betraying fascination as she adjusted her footing, Ethan's hand near hers again, a subtle reminder of presence and guidance. They continued along the balcony, stepping lightly, the low hum of distant engines blending with their synchronized breaths, an occasional soft hiss of vented air punctuating the quiet, the cool air brushing against their faces, Lyra leaning slightly toward Ethan for support, their movements fluid yet deliberate, navigating the complex maze of conduits and access pathways, the interplay of light and shadow casting elongated silhouettes along the walls, the ambient glow highlighting both the metallic sheen of Ethan's gear and the subtle iridescence of Lyra's skin, a fleeting glance shared between them conveying silent understanding, a fragile connection forming amidst uncertainty, the passage narrowing toward a service door ahead, the panel lights flickering, casting brief illuminations on their faces, Ethan's voice low but firm. "Almost there, stay close." Lyra's lips pressed together in concentration, eyes forward, taking measured steps, the anticipation thick in the air, each movement calculated, every glance signaling trust and alertness. The corridor stretching into shadows ahead, suspense building with every second, leaving a palpable tension that promised the next stage of their journey to be both uncertain and extraordinary. The service door slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a wider maintenance chamber bathed in a pale, diffuse light. Ethan Carter stepping in first, hand extended to steady Lyra Vera as she adjusted to the sudden brightness, her turquoise skin reflecting the cool illumination, violet eyes scanning the room filled with exposed conduits, panels displaying streams of data, and the faint hum of life support systems vibrating underfoot, the air tinged with the metallic scent of machinery. Ethan guided her toward a raised platform with grated flooring, the subtle vibration providing both rhythm and warning. He gestured for her to climb carefully, offering steady support without words, Lyra's fingers brushing the smooth railing as she ascended, concentration etched across her features, every movement precise, her breathing measured, Ethan following closely, scanning the environment for any anomalies or hazards, the shadows shifting with the flicker of overhead lights, the panels reflecting their silhouettes in elongated, almost cinematic forms, a moment of quiet as they reached the top, the hum of distant machinery underscoring the tension. Ethan motioned toward a narrow catwalk leading to an access hatch on the far wall, the corridor below filled with a faint blue glow from operational conduits. Lyra paused briefly, considering the distance and her footing. Ethan crouched slightly, maintaining eye contact, voice calm, firm. "Step lightly. I am right here," she nodded. Trust subtly growing as she took the first step, the metal floor cool beneath her boots, their synchronized steps creating a quiet rhythm, each sound amplified by the chamber's acoustics, the faint hiss of vented air punctuating the tension, Ethan guiding her hand along the railing, her fingers brushing his when necessary, a silent reassurance. as they moved along the catwalk. The ambient glow highlighting the subtle iridescence of her skin, the interplay of light and shadow emphasizing their cautious progress, panels flickering overhead, casting brief, shifting patterns across walls and machinery. Lyra's eyes momentarily widening at a particularly reflective surface, Ethan noting her attention and offering a small nod of acknowledgement. The catwalk narrowing, requiring careful navigation, their movements deliberate, each step measured against the subtle vibration of machinery and the uneven surfaces, the distant hum and faint clicks of operational equipment providing an almost musical accompaniment to their journey. Lyra leaning slightly toward Ethan for stability, the connection between them silent but palpable. They reached the access hatch, the final obstacle before the next section of the corridor, Ethan's hand steady on the handle, Lyra taking a deep breath, gathering confidence. And as the hatch slowly opened with a soft mechanical whir, a faint rush of cooler air brushing past them, she followed Ethan through, eyes wide with cautious anticipation, the camera lingering on their synchronized movements, the shadows and light playing across their faces, each detail of their cautious advance highlighting the trust, the tension, and the fragile bond forming, leaving viewers with a heightened sense of suspense and curiosity for what lies just beyond the hatch. The narrow corridor opened into a broader observation deck, the ceiling lined with translucent panels casting soft ambient light over Ethan Carter and Lyra Vera. As they stepped carefully onto the smooth metal floor, the hum of life support systems resonating beneath their boots, Ethan extending a steady hand to guide Lyra along the walkway, her turquoise skin glinting under the glow, violet eyes scanning the room with curiosity and caution, data panels lining the walls displaying streams of softly pulsing information, the cool air carrying the faint scent of metal and ozone. Ethan motioning toward a distant set of access doors partially illuminated by the flickering glow of overhead lights. Lyra pausing briefly to adjust her footing, fingers grazing the smooth railing. Ethan crouching slightly to maintain eye contact, voice low, calm, yet firm. Carefully now, we are almost across, her lips pressed together, nodding as she took a tentative step forward, their movements synchronized, the sound of their boots echoing in measured rhythm across the empty deck, shadows stretching across panels and floors, emphasizing the geometry of the environment. Ethan noting every detail, the location of vents and conduits, potential pathways and hiding spots. Lyra leaning slightly toward him for reassurance, her subtle trust in his guidance growing with each careful stride. The ambient lighting shifting with the hum of operational equipment, casting brief, moving reflections. Across her tense but intrigued expression, Ethan's hand hovering near hers, guiding without touching unless necessary. A quiet, almost imperceptible connection forming between them. They reached a junction where the floor grated and vibration pulsed faintly beneath their feet, Ethan pausing to signal caution, Lyra adjusting her stance, balancing lightly against the railing, the distant machinery producing soft rhythmic clicks that accented the tension, Ethan moving alongside her, scanning each panel and conduit for any irregularities. The flicker of lights above casting elongated, ephemeral shadows, Lyra's gaze drawn to a particularly reflective section of wall, curiosity overcoming fear momentarily, Ethan giving a small nod of acknowledgement. She returned to focus, the corridor ahead narrowing, forcing careful alignment of every step, synchronized breathing and movement continuing, the faint hiss of air vents punctuating the silence, their progress deliberate and measured, building anticipation with each careful motion. Lyra's eyes occasionally glancing at Ethan, a silent acknowledgement of growing trust, the air filled with quiet hums and soft metallic resonances, the sense of anticipation increasing as they approached the far end of the deck, the access doors now fully visible, bathed in subtle, flickering light, Ethan's hand reaching for the handle, his gaze meeting Lyra's, steady and reassuring. Just a little further. She exhaled softly, taking the next step with careful precision. The camera lingering on their movements, the interplay of light, shadow, and reflective surfaces, highlighting both the environment and the developing trust between them. Tension and anticipation weaving together as they moved toward the threshold of the unknown area beyond the doors, leaving viewers with a palpable sense of suspense and expectation. The double doors slid open with a low mechanical hum, revealing a vast atrium illuminated by soft, diffused light filtering through translucent panels above. Ethan Carter stepping first, scanning the space for potential hazards. The air cool and tinged with the faint scent of metal and ozone. Lyra Vera following closely, her turquoise skin catching the ambient glow, violet eyes wide with cautious awe. The floor beneath them a polished grid of metal and reinforced glass, faint vibrations from distant machinery humming through the surface with each measured step. Ethan extending a hand to guide Lyra along a narrow walkway that skirted a lower observation platform filled with softly glowing consoles and panels, each displaying streams of alien data and softly pulsing holographic indicators. The interplay of light and shadow creating shifting patterns across walls and floor. Lyra pausing briefly to study a panel, curiosity mixing with cautious attention, Ethan maintaining a calm presence, guiding without words, his hand near hers as a silent reassurance. The hum of engines and life support systems providing a constant, rhythmic background, every step deliberate, measured against subtle vibrations and uneven surfaces. The narrow walkway curving toward a junction where conduits and piping ran overhead and along the sides, flickering lights casting brief, elongated shadows that danced across their faces. Lyra leaning slightly toward Ethan, the trust between them growing with each synchronized movement. The subtle warmth of human presence comforting amidst the sterile, mechanical environment. Ethan noting the contours of walls, panels, and overhead structures for the safest path, signaling silently with small gestures when needed, their breath shallow but steady, synchronized with the gentle hums and hisses of air vents and machinery. The anticipation thick in the charged quiet, Lyra adjusting her footing with precise care, the glow from nearby panels reflecting softly in her eyes. Ethan moving in tandem, eyes constantly scanning, hand hovering near hers to provide support without touch unless necessary. The corridor ahead narrowing again, tension building as each calculated step brings them closer to the far end, shadows stretching long and merging with flickering light. Lyra's expression a mix of cautious attention and emerging confidence. Subtle gestures communicating trust, the metallic floor beneath vibrating faintly under their synchronized steps, soft hisses punctuating the steady hum. The interplay of light and shadow highlighting their movements and cautious progress. Ethan's voice quiet, steady, directing her subtly. Lyra responding with precise, deliberate movements. The sense of anticipation mounting as the junction approaches. Every step measured, every glance conveying silent understanding. The environment alive with soft mechanical noises, flickering panels, and the low hum of operational systems. The tension and fragile trust between them growing. The threshold of the next chamber visible ahead. Its soft glow promising new challenges and discoveries, leaving viewers suspended in the moment, eager to witness what lies beyond the atrium and how the careful alliance between human and alien will continue to unfold. The observation deck stretched wider as Ethan Carter and Lyra Vera approached the central control node, the pale ambient light reflecting off panels and transparent walkways, casting long, shifting shadows across the polished metal floor. Ethan moving deliberately, hand extended to guide Lyra over subtle dips and graded sections, her turquoise skin glowing faintly under the overhead illumination. Violet eyes alert to every detail, scanning each console and conduit with cautious curiosity, the low hum of machinery and life support systems resonating beneath their boots, punctuated by the occasional soft hiss of venting air. Ethan crouched slightly to signal a narrow passage to the left, gesturing for Lyra to follow carefully, her movements deliberate, fingers brushing the smooth railing for support, trust evident in the slight tilt of her head and the way she mirrored his steps, the corridor narrowing as they advanced, subtle vibrations underfoot alerting them to operational systems. Nearby, Ethan's eyes continuously scanning the environment, noting each vent, hatch, and panel for potential pathways or temporary cover. Lyra pausing to observe a flickering panel displaying cascading data, Ethan giving a small nod, acknowledging her attention while keeping them moving. Their synchronized footsteps creating a quiet rhythm across the metallic floor, shadows shifting with each flicker of overhead lights. Lyra's expression softening, curiosity mingling with a cautious trust. Ethan maintaining a calm, steady presence, guiding without intrusive touch. The subtle warmth of his proximity providing reassurance amidst the sterile mechanical surroundings. They reached a junction where the floor grated and conduits ran overhead. Ethan signaling a careful turn, Lyra adjusting her footing, leaning slightly toward him for balance. The low hum of engines and operational systems providing a constant backdrop, soft clicks and hisses accentuating the tension. The corridor curving upward toward a set of reinforced access doors illuminated by a faint green glow. Ethan pausing briefly to evaluate the structural panels and the placement of vents. Lyra mirroring his caution, taking precise steps, the interplay of light, shadow, and reflective surfaces highlighting their movements and the environment's complexity, the anticipation mounting as they approach the access point. Ethan whispering quietly, "Just a few more steps, stay close." Lyra's lips pressed together in concentration, eyes forward, the trust between them evident in the subtle coordination of their steps. The metallic floor resonating faintly with each synchronized movement, shadows stretching long, merging with flickering lights, the surrounding panels reflecting their cautious progress. Ethan's hand near hers as a silent assurance. Lyra adjusting her posture and grip with each step, the tension and suspense building toward the next chamber, the air charged with anticipation. The mechanical hums and soft hisses blending with the synchronized rhythm of their movements. The threshold of the final control node now visible ahead, bathed in soft illumination that hinted at unknown possibilities, leaving a palpable sense of suspense, trust, and curiosity as they prepared to step fully into the next stage of their journey. The final access doors loomed ahead, their faint green glow casting elongated reflections across the polished metal floor as Ethan Carter guided Lyra Vera carefully toward them, her turquoise skin catching the ambient illumination, violet eyes scanning every panel and conduit with a mix of caution and wonder, the soft hum of life support systems and distant engines vibrating beneath their boots, punctuated by occasional hisses of vented air. Ethan crouching slightly to gesture for her to step lightly over a narrow graded section, her fingers grazing the smooth railing for balance, trust evident in the subtle coordination of their movements. The corridor narrowing and twisting just enough to heighten anticipation, Ethan's steady voice whispering guidance. "Almost there. Keep your focus." Lyra nodding, lips pressed together in concentration, each step deliberate and synchronized with his, shadows stretching and merging with flickering lights, the interplay of reflection and geometry accentuating the intricacy of the environment. Ethan noting every detail of panels, vents, and conduits, planning their path forward while maintaining proximity to Lyra for silent reassurance, her gaze darting to subtle changes in light and vibration, curiosity and cautious trust mingling in her expression. They reached a junction where the walkway curved sharply, the floor vibrating faintly underfoot, Ethan signaling for measured movement, Lyra leaning slightly toward him, maintaining balance and rhythm, the mechanical hums blending with the echo of their synchronized boots. The corridor opening onto a larger control atrium filled with softly glowing consoles, holographic streams of data floating above panels, and the faint pulse of energy flowing along conduits overhead. Lyra's eyes widening at the scope of the space, momentarily forgetting tension as she absorbed the complexity and beauty of the environment. Ethan, maintaining calm guidance, hand near hers, signaling caution without physical touch, their movements deliberate and measured, the subtle warmth of proximity providing reassurance. As they approached the central node, the air tinged with the scent of metal and ozone, the soft rhythmic hum of machinery underfoot creating a steady cadence. Ethan observing every angle and surface, planning each step, Lyra following with precise care. Shadows and light dancing across their faces, reflecting a fragile bond forming amidst uncertainty. Anticipation thick in the atmosphere as they reached the threshold of the central console, panels softly illuminating the room with shifting light. Ethan whispering softly, Just a little further, and Lyra stepping carefully into position, synchronized with him, eyes forward, the camera capturing every nuance of their cautious advance, the interplay of light, shadow, and reflective surfaces emphasizing the tension, trust, and silent communication between them, leaving viewers suspended at the precipice of discovery, the central node before them hinting at revelations and choices yet to come. The central console hummed with soft, pulsating light as Ethan Carter and Lyra Vera stepped fully into the atrium. Their synchronized movements precise, careful, every footfall echoing across the polished metal floor, the translucent ceiling panels casting ambient illumination that reflected off Lyra's turquoise skin and highlighted the contours of Ethan's dark tactical gear. Data streams cascading across the holographic panels in rhythmic patterns, soft pulses of energy flowing along conduits. Overhead, creating a mesmerizing visual rhythm, Ethan crouched slightly to gesture toward the main interface, the console's surface alive with faint luminescence, Lyra leaning in, her violet eyes scanning the flowing data with a mix of curiosity and cautious trust, Ethan's voice low and calm, providing subtle guidance. Focus on the patterns, follow my lead. Her lips pressing together in concentration as she mirrored his movements, fingers hovering over the panels, the hum of machinery vibrating. Faintly beneath their boots, a faint metallic scent filling the air, shadows stretching long across walls and floors as light flickered from operational systems. Ethan pointing out specific conduits and access points with gentle gestures, Lyra's head tilting slightly, absorbing every detail, the quiet coordination between them growing stronger with each synchronized motion, their breath shallow, matched to the rhythm of soft hisses and clicks of vented air, the console interface displaying complex streams of data, some flowing vertically, others arcing horizontally, the interplay of colors reflecting off both their faces, Ethan guiding Lyra to adjust her position, a subtle nod of acknowledgement passing between them, her trust in his steady presence evident in the careful alignment of their bodies and synchronized steps. The atrium vast yet intimate in the way light and shadow interacted with the polished metal surfaces, Ethan scanning every panel, vent, and reflective surface for anomalies, Lyra following each movement with precise attention, the quiet hums of engines and machinery merging with the soft rhythm of their coordinated breathing. A fleeting glance shared between them conveying silent understanding and the fragile bond that had formed over the journey. As they reached the center of the console array, Ethan gesturing toward a large, softly glowing panel, Lyra stepping closer, fingers brushing lightly over the smooth surface, the light catching the iridescence of her skin in subtle, captivating patterns, Ethan maintaining a reassuring presence beside her, their eyes meeting briefly, communicating trust and anticipation without words. The ambient lighting shifting gently with the pulse of the data, shadows dancing subtly, highlighting their careful movements, the tension and curiosity reaching a peak as they prepared to interact with the main console, the entire atrium alive with soft illumination and rhythmic pulses, Ethan whispering, "Almost there, stay steady," Lyra nodding, her focus absolute, the sense of suspense, discovery, and emerging connection between human and alien culminating in this moment of quiet triumph, leaving viewers suspended in the interplay of light, shadow, and synchronized action, the promise of revelation and new understanding hanging palpably in the air.